Alright, welcome to AutoTradingPlanet. I'm Paul, and in today's video I'm going to show you how you can develop a complete expert advisor using the RSI. So this video will be perfect for you if you are either new to MQL5 and to developing expert advisors, or if you are new to working with the RSI indicator. So we are going to develop the EA that you can currently see running in the background. It's a very simple EA that opens trades when the market is either overbought or oversold. And as you can see, we have a fixed stop loss and take profit, and we only take one trade at once. So this means we will also include some more advanced functionality into our EA. So let's go ahead and start coding. First of all, let's start by creating a new expert advisor. So we can just call this RSI EA test, for example. And let's start off by first of all changing the formatting of the code. So that's not necessary, but that's what I like to do. And then we can actually go ahead and up here we can first of all copy the comment and start with an include section. So for this expert advisor we are going to include the trade.mqh file. So if we compile, we can scroll up and see right here we have trade.mqh, and we can double click it, and this shows you that the include was successful. Next we need some input variables. So let's also create a separate section just for that. So input variables, and here we need quite a lot of different information. So let's start with an input for the magic number. So let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we need an input for the RSI values. So we need an integer input RSI period, and let's just set this to 14. Then we need the RSI upper, so that's the upper level of the RSI, so the threshold at which we can say that the market is overbought. Let's just set this to the standard value of 70, and RSI lower, which is usually 30. Then we need different values for the stop loss and take profit, and we can actually go ahead and create an input group. So we could say risk settings, and we can actually go up here and also create a group. So that's just like a heading for the section of input parameters. So we could say RSI settings, and we can always compile in between and see that there are no errors. And you can see we don't even need a semicolon for those input groups. And now we can go ahead and have an integer input, let's say input stop loss, and let's just set this to 100, and also an input take profit, and again set this to 100. And we can have an input for the volume as a double, so we could say input volume, and let's just say 0.1. And these are all the input variables that we need, and now we can create a new section for the global variables. And here we first of all need an array of type MQL rates. So this array stores the bar data of the previous candles, and we will use this for especially for trading on a new bar. So our expert advisor doesn't check trading conditions with each new tick, but only when there's a new bar. And for this we also need a variable, let's call it last bar, and this variable will store the timestamp of the previous candle. Then we need a object of type cTrade, so that's from our trade.mqh file. Let's just call it trade. And for the RSI indicator we need an RSI handle and an array that stores the RSI values. So let's compile and move on to the onInit function. First of all, we need to set our two arrays as a series. This basically means that we reverse the ordering so that new elements get placed at the beginning of the array. So index 0 will always be the current value, index 1 will be the previous value, and so on. So we can just write array set as series, and we need to pass the name of the array and then the value true. And we do this also for the RSI values. And then we can go ahead and set the magic number of our expert advisor. So we have created this trade object of the cTrade class, and we can say set expert magic number, and here we have the input magic number. And now we can go ahead and validate the user input. So that's an important step because we don't know what the user will input. So we can, for example, check if the RSI period is less than or equal to 0. This of course is not a valid input, so we can alert input RSI period is less than or equal to 0. And we can return saying init parameters incorrect, and always add a semicolon. Then we can check if the RSI upper is less than 0 or the RSI upper is greater than 100. And in this case we can again alert and say RSI upper less than 0 or greater than 100. And again return parameters incorrect. Then we can do the same for the RSI lower. So again check if it's a value less than 0 or greater than 100. And then we can again alert input RSI lower less than 0 or greater than 100. And return parameters incorrect. Now we can go ahead and create or initialize the RSI. We already have our handle, so we can say is equal to I RSI. And here we need to specify the symbol, which is just the current symbol. Then we could specify a specific period, but we are just going to say period current. Then the MA period, so the period that we have as an input RSI period. And then the applied price is price underscore close. And now we can perform some more error handling. So we can say if the RSI handle is equal to invalid handle, then we can again alert, for example, failed to initialize RSI indicator, and then we can return init failed. And that's it for the onInit function. We can compile, check if there are any errors, and then we can move to the deinit function, and here we only have to release the indicator. So we can say indicator release, then we need to pass the handle, which is the RSI handle, and that's it for the onDeinit function. And now, of course, our main task is to fill out the onTick function. So let's start by getting the bar data. And here we use the copy rates function, but we place the copy rates function inside of an if statement. And first of all, we want to copy the rates for the current symbol, the current period, starting at the current position at index 0. And let's copy the values for the last 5 bars. And we have to pass the array where we want to copy the values to. So that's our bar array. And now, because we are inside of an if statement, we can check if this is less than 5. So the copy rates function returns the number of values that we have copied. We've said we want to copy 5 values, and so if this is less than 5, this means something failed. So yet again, we can perform error handling and say failed to copy bar values, for instance, and then we can just return. Next, we can get the RSI data, and here we do something very similar. Again, we use an if statement, and now we use the copy buffer function. And here we specify the handle of the indicator, so that's our RSI handle. The buffer number, there's only one buffer for the RSI, so that's 0. And again, we want to start at position 0, so for the current bar or for the current period, and copy the values of the last 5 bars into our RSI values array. And here again, we check if this is less than 5, because we want to copy 5 values. And if that's the case, we can again say something like fail to copy RSI values and return. Now we can go ahead and check for a new bar. As I've mentioned previously, we only want to trade if there is a new bar, so we can say if bar 0, so that's the array that holds our candle data, and each candle has a timestamp, so we can check if this timestamp does not equal the timestamp saved in our last bar variable. And if that's the case, we have a new bar, and we can save the new timestamp in our last bar variable. And if this condition is not true, so if we don't have a new bar, we can inside of an else statement just return. And let's compile and see if there are any errors. Okay, so we can move on, and one thing we want to check right here is we want to only trade when there are no open orders or positions from our current EA. So we want to filter by the magic number, and let's create a function. So let's copy up here the comment, and let's just create a section additional functions. And here we can create a function of type integer, because we want to return the number of open positions. And let's call it get open orders by magic, for instance. And so here we have to start by initializing a variable. For example, let's call it total, and this will hold the total amount of open positions by our expert advisor. And here we need a for loop, so we can say for int I equals 0, and we iterate from 0 to positions total. And we increase the value of I with each iteration. Here we can create a ulong that will hold the ticket number of our open positions. So we can say position get ticket at index I. And first of all, let's check if the ticket value is 0. If it is, we can just continue into the next iteration of the for loop. And then we try inside of an if statement to select the position. So we can say position select by ticket. And here we pass the ticket. And this condition inside the if statement is only true if we successfully selected the position. And so inside here we can, again inside an if statement, check position get integer. And we want to get the position magic. So that's the position magic, the magic number of our expert advisor. And we compare this to the input magic number. So we just compare if the magic number of our expert advisor, so the one that the user has chosen as an input, equals the magic number that is stored for the open position. And if that's the case, this means that the position that we have just selected belongs to our expert advisor. And so this means we can increase total by 1, and then all the way down here we can return the value for total, and we can compile. And now let's move back up into our onTick function. So we only want to trade when there are no open positions. So we can just go ahead and inside an if statement say get open orders by magic, and we return the number of open positions, and we check if this is greater than 0. And if it is greater than 0, this means that we can just return, because there's no need for us to check for any trading conditions if there is one open order. So now we can go ahead and check for a long entry. And here we use an if statement, and we can check if RSI values, so the last RSI value at index 1, index 0 is the RSI value of the current candle, so the one that's still open, that hasn't closed yet, but we only want to pay attention to the previous bars. So RSI value at index 1 is less than input RSI lower. So we look if the market is oversold, and if that's the case, we want to open a buy order. So for that we need the current ask price. We can save the ask price in a double variable and use the symbol info double. And we want to get the information for the current symbol. And here we already have symbol ask. So that's the current ask price. And then we can go ahead and use the trade object, trade.buy, and the volume is the input volume, the symbol is the current symbol or the standard value null, which means the chart that's currently open, Then the price is the ask price. And now for the stop loss, we need the ask price minus, and now the input stop loss times the value of a point. And for the take profit, we do something similar. So that's the ask price plus the input take profit times the value of a point. And then we could define a comment. So we could say RSI EA and compile. And so that's how we open a buy order. Now we can check for a short entry. And so here it's basically the reverse. So we check if the last RSI value is greater than the RSI upper. So the market is overbought. And now we want to open a sell order. Therefore we need the bid price. So double bid price equals symbol info double, current symbol, and now the symbol bid. And then we can go ahead, first compile. And now we can say trade.sell. And again, the volume is the input volume, the current chart, the price is the bid price, and then this stop loss is the bid price plus the input stop loss times the value of a point, and therefore the take profit is the bid price minus the input take profit times the value of a point. And again, a comment could be RSI EA, for example. And we can compile. And so that's it for the code. So let me show you how the expert advisor looks like. So here we have the RSI EA test. And you can see we have our input parameters. We have those headings that we've created earlier. And here we could define the magic number, the period of the RSI, as well as, for example, the stop loss, take profit, volume. And let's just start the test. And you can see we place the orders and it seems to work. So the distance of the take profit and stop loss seems to be 100 points, and we only have one open order per EA. And because there's only one EA on the chart, we only have one open order at a time. So yeah, that's it for this tutorial. I hope you've learned something new. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe. And if you want to learn how to develop your own expert advisors, make sure to check out my other videos, and see you next time. Bye.